I had the worst divorce in the history of mankind. I lost my daughter. I lost my, you know, um, my money. I lost my reputation. I lost my career, and I really lost my daughter. I lost myself. But then here we are now, talking about love, and I'm actually literally sitting on. Yeah, I want to show you. I call it my love couch. It's the only thing I own in this world, and it's because I don't regret anything, but I regret one thing: choosing my ex-wife. I'm not going to introduce you. I'm not going to say your name. You're on the
Mm-hmm.
screen, and I'm going to, since we're talking about love today, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to read the poem that I wrote called "Love and Pain," a poem by Roger Shachtura, inspired by a poem called "Pain" by Gibran Khalil Gibran from Lebanon. It's the same place where I come from. A wise man from the country I once called home, Gibran Khalil Gibran, said, "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain." This part is from Gibran Khalil Gibran, and I will continue with my poem. And as I woke up this morning, bidding farewell to what I called home and what I thought was family in mourning, I remember my pain and my crying the day I was brought into psychiatric confinement for the breaking of my shell like a fruit dying. I remember the fruit beneath my shell cracking, with every punch in where seemed like hell, poisoned with needles and capsules in gel, to numb my pain surrounded by demons wearing crosses in hell. And I remember how my heart felt, pain and tears as I begged and knelt to the demons to spare me from the chains, from their fire, wrath, and pains. 25 days without love and sun, without the voice of my daughter, surrounded by demons, nowhere to run. Today I remember that the wise man said that my pain is life even when I thought I was dead, that my pain was the breaking of my shell and my understanding of the thin line between heaven and hell. And the stone that was engulfing my fruit was beaten to break so that I could stand with butterflies in the sun, endlessly loving them from the bottom of my heart, a heart that was beaten out of its shell. I'm grateful to God for the butterflies in hell, grateful for soul and heartbreak love coach Constanze Witzel. She's gorgeous like heaven and looks nothing like hell. In divine union, if we kiss, we won't tell. So don't kiss and tell, Constanze Witzel, soul and heartbreak love coach. And tonight we have Constanze with us, and she's going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about the wisdom of a broken heart. I think a lot of people are suffering from pain, and it's
Yes.
the number one reason, in my opinion, for rising mental illnesses, especially depression, because it's linked to isolation and loneliness. But first, what do you think about my poem, Constanze?
Well, I have goosebumps all over and I have like teary eyes, so I'm deeply touched. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Roger. I don't think ever anyone wrote a poem for me, so I feel very honored. Second day of this new year, and I received such a wonderful poem. Thank
Mm.
you.
It ended in hell, and I was like, hell with Zell? Oh, I mean, easy. All it needs is a couple more rhymes. Soul and heartbreak love coach. Like, I mean, I'm your worst case scenario. So if you're looking at a hospital, I'm emergency, right? So that's my story with when I look at the past, right? But when I read Wisdom of a Broken Heart, it says to me something um, that I loved so much. And it said, become the one true great love of your own life with 3 session coaching program. So, I'm your worst case scenario. So let's say I'm the wrecked one that had the worst, traumatizing experience, including torture, human rights violations, kidnap, and this is what my poem spoke about. It actually spoke those about those experiences. I experienced those experiences because of a marriage, so therefore there's wrong decision making somehow somewhere to begin with, and I'm aware of that. Now, having gone through this as well means I really have relationship issues, right? Like really. And it affects me a lot, like simply because, like, for example, now yesterday I did an energy healing also as part of the this campaign of spreading wellness. And I am still actually going through a lot of things and still a lot of repercussions, in my ability to parent and, be a co-parent, an equal co-parent, So I had to transition from being a no parent and then becoming illegally a no parent because of insanity and mental illness diagnostics and stuff like that. But yeah, so I lost my family, right? I lost my family. I lost my rights to my daughter. I'm separated from her. And that has become the struggle of my life. And it's like, if calling that going to emergency, that's like going to emergency every single day. So yes, if somebody like me comes to you, like, what do they do? Can you please get on video? Because like, it's not cool without you.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize my camera switched off, but
So they
now
were
I'm
just
back.
listening to me up and looking at your picture. Now they see you again. Oh,
Great.
welcome. You brightened up
Thank
our
you.
evening.
Thank you.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
your emergency worst case scenario on the relationship front. Like, how can you fix me? Not that I need help, but yeah, we'll do that. But
Well, I would say, first of all, I don't really like the term fixing, because with fixing, it implies that something is completely wrong and broken. And I would say, from the story you told me, you've definitely been heavily shattered and into pieces. And now it's the question, what do I do with this? I could either become a really mean, nasty person and regret my choices in life, but you wouldn't be Roger and doing all these wonderful things if you would have chosen that path. So you realized, okay, halas, this is my past. I want to do something and I want to extract the wisdom of all the brokenness. So first of all, what I do in my courses, what I do in my one-on-one coachings, what I do in my work generally, I consider myself a space holder for all of humanness. Sometimes I call it for all of human mess. Yeah, because
exactly,
we live in a society where, we like to present ourselves very happy and perfect and everything is great. Thank you. How are you? I'm fine. Yeah, fuck that. I don't believe in that. Whew,
I
why is the
stopped doing
light
that.
switching off? I have some technical problems here, but yeah, okay, I'm back. So
I just realized I have like bad hair day. So yeah, I'm having bad hair.
let me see this.
Do I
Yeah,
look
just
good? What do you think?
you look great.
Really? I look tired.
Yeah,
Really?
you're a
Okay.
little tired. With your black fluffy sweater, you look like you could be here with
Do
me in
you like
Germany.
men with beards?
How do you call it?
Beard?
Yeah, looks nice.
Yeah. Cool. Good.
Yeah, the perfect winter
I'm
winter
checking if
sweater.
I'm like, good enough. I'm
If
just
I'm good
flirting with
enough.
you. Yeah.
I know,
Are you gonna
I
come
know, I
back
know.
on video?
We're gonna cut this out, right?
Yeah, I will cut. Yeah. I mean, sometimes
Okay,
I'll
great.
still like, no, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, space holder. That I'm a space holder for all of human mess. So I would say the first stage of every healing needs to be a room that's created where you feel safe.
Mm.
And this is, of course, as well my job, to create a safe space for my client, for the people that come to me for counseling, for coaching, that I create a really, really safe space where they feel held, where they feel seen, where they know, okay, it's safe to express here. Because growing up, especially when we have like maybe early developmental trauma, childhood trauma, when we had toxic relationships, it was never really safe to express ourselves fully. So we started to neglect our own needs. We started to neglect parts of ourselves. And this is where I come in. First of all, by creating a safe space where they know, okay, I can say anything here and I don't judge. I just witness you. And then I believe a big part is actually grieving, allowing grief to naturally flow through your body, because so often we suppress grief, we suppress anger, we suppress all these emotions because we don't really have spaces in day-to-day life, especially when we have a family, or yeah, when we're just living in normal society. There are not really spaces where we can just express our emotions. So these are the first two, I would say, emergency things that I would offer you in this case. Creating a safe space, give you a few somatic meditations. I say somatic because there's classical meditation that's a little bit more consciousness related. For all the people who are familiar, you might connect yourself with something. And yeah, this is great. But in the work I do, I believe in the power of the body, and you need to feel safe again within yourself. So a lot of somatic meditations where you drop back into your body, because you need the capacity to hold all of these traumatic, horrible emotions that you might have had suppressed during, well, in your case, during the marriage, the time after. So there's a lot of suppressed trauma, what I see in a lot of my clients.
You see this lady?
Hello.
She just came for a hug.
Beautiful.
That's
Hey.
Clelia. So she's the one who made Daddy come back from Dubai to Lebanon because he wants to be here, because she's 8 now, and at 8 in psychology is the time for guidance and positive authority figures. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's Clelia.
Beautiful.
Sweet. She was in the poem
Sweet.
too, mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. So
I
first of
wanted
all,
to ask you about a couple of things. Actually, you're absolutely right. Suppression and expression. And you mentioned these two things. And one thing I have learned, actually, the main thing I've learned in my marriage and in my relationships is, and I describe the words with freedom of expression. And I wanted to ask you about this later, but since we spoke about it and we're speaking about it now, when I was in my marriage, why I went and spiraled into a mental illness was because of that repression. I'll give you examples. Like, I DJ, right? I'm involved in music. I like to go out. I like to see friends. And, like, I have that part of me. So, I talk about the 7 dimensions of wellness. If I'm going to be well, I need to express them, to be given the freedom to express them. How does that manifest? If I love DJing, I don't want my girlfriend or my wife to tell me, oh, you can't do it because that takes off the time of the kids or whatever. So as long as I allocate, but of course, I do self-assess myself on where I went wrong, but ultimately where now I could never go wrong is expression. So basically, even in my numerology, funny enough, is 5, and 5 is a number of freedom of expression. Alan Watts is a 5, Malcolm X is a 5, Roger Shachtura is a 5, Ellen DeGeneres is a 5, right? And even us as characters, like, speak your truth. That's so we are in depression and mental illness. We will fall into depression and mental illness if we don't speak our truth. So if you look at Malcolm X, he did not accept the separation of racial discrimination, and he was like, I'm gonna stop it, right? And he created that movement. Helen, when she became, actually, she also fell into kind of depression extended when she was like, when people knew she was gay without her coming out, and she was one of the first celebrities to come out, she was fired from her job. She found out in the newspaper, right, that she was fired because she's gay. And then she really collapsed into 2-3 years of depression, homelessness, etc., similar to my experiences, until she spoke her truth. So what was her truth? I'm gay. What's my truth? I'm crazy, right? So it's like speaking my truth. And how it comes is I have crazy ideas. One of them is reconnect and the whole story of it. So for me, it's like expressing music, expressing my creativity, expressing my opinions and narratives, whatever it is, even if it conflicts with everything. I conflict every day with everyone with my narratives, so it's like easy for me to conflict now. But I'm saying is now I defend that truthfulness, right, in my expression. It's like, no, I should, if I'm gonna have to lie to my girlfriend, then
Oh, no.
That's me, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the moment you have to suppress and not express your needs, what do you love, what do you like to do, etc., then you are actually going to be repressing a part of yourself. So it's going to also affect you mentally and physically, like you said, somatic. I actually, a few days ago, also as part of this manic resolutions, I started with my own healing, and you know what happened? I came to the realization that I'm exhibiting PTSD symptoms, right? And I'm like, okay, how did I know? It started like coming up in my spinal cord. I could not sleep for about 10 days. Pain, I'm in pain. And I know I know it is, but nobody ever pointed it at me. Nobody, like, I didn't have somebody from the outside see it. And then just somebody who's actually qualified. She looked and said, you have PTSD symptoms. And literally, so the high stress level that, like, for me, coming to Lebanon is my place of triggers, right? And that all also is in the relationship context, in the fatherhood context, in the marriage. So now I'm here every day, right? So I'm exposed much more, and it led to it manifesting in back pain. Now I could have gone to a conventional doctor and said to them, I have back pain, and they were like, take a pill, right? But here,
Mhm.
what I started doing is, and you said something off recording, and I love to take on that, because I'm going to manifest my resolutions, especially on this matter. So I've reached a conclusion that I have started manifesting PTSD symptoms because I have not healed actually from PTSD inducing events, which is that entry into hospitals and psychiatric. So I never worked on that. So I healed from the psychiatric drugs, but still I never worked on that aspect of me. And what is also, so back pain, and every opportunity I had to form a relationship in the last 2 years have ended up in a similar pattern that was driven by that trauma. So I never healed from it. So how can I move on now forward? And this is why so I started actually with Dr. Bassam, who's also part of the resolution, with energy healing. So I did a session yesterday, and today I love this because we started this back for Reconnect, and it's called Divine Unions. And for us, tonight we agreed that this is what we will present it. So I have physical pain, and I am having failure in relationships, to break it down for you, simply because of that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now what can I do, Roger, to improve that aspect of my life?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great that you already recognize by yourself that you're repeating a pattern.
Mhm.
This is usually sometimes in coachings when people are not so aware. This is something I point them towards. I tell them, okay, look at this relationship, look at this, then connect the dots. And suddenly they start to realize, oh, there's actually a pattern.
Yeah.
And usually the pattern is created sometime in childhood. That's why I speak a lot about early developmental trauma.
Mhm.
And in the work that I do, we go back in time.
Mhm.
So the part, for example, in you that created this scenario that you're in right now. I mean, you fell in love with that woman once, yeah?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
maybe because there were parts inside of you that were not fully healed, that maybe thought, because the thing is, I don't know your personal story right now, so
Yeah,
I'm just making
of course.
something
Yeah.
up. Um, maybe there is a feeling of worthlessness. Like, I can share something from my own personal
Mhm.
story. My dad left us when I was 16, and I have not been in touch with him, well, frequently since then.
Mhm.
And for the first few years, he just kind of disappeared. So this left a mark in my system. I'm not worthy of love. And especially, I'm not worthy of healthy love.
I'm giving you
So
a hug.
I, thank you. So I tend to attract in the past men that prove that this belief about myself is true.
Mhm. Yeah.
Until one day I said, stop. I do not want to repeat this toxic
Mhm.
pattern. And then I turned towards myself.
Yeah.
And then I started to do a lot of really deep inner self healing,
Yeah.
inner child reparenting. And this is what I do with my clients. Like,
Yeah.
we go back through time and space. We go back maybe to a situation when the client was 6, 7, 8 years old, where something happened. And, you know, often in the world, when people hear the word trauma, they think, oh my gosh, it must have been something really bad. No, it's the little traumas, the little T. Your mom telling you, oh, don't you want to wear a prettier dress? Oh, you should brush your hair. Are you sure men are going to like you like this? You know, like all these little mean words. And I would say, because we are hosting this as well in the Middle Eastern world, and I hope I can say it, but I think you will agree with me, especially in the Middle Eastern world, people are very much about appearance. How do I appear? What do people think about me? What does the family think about what I do? You know, so this construct of beliefs and of karmic impact is so intense on us. And then we completely lose ourselves in the process, and we might get married to a person we are not even in love with, or we get married to a person who just repeats our childhood pains. Because if you never learned what safe, secure love looks like, how are you going to attract it? And this is actually where I start. Like, sometimes I have clients, they come to me and they want to tell me every little detail about their relationship. And I'm like, stop. I don't need to know the whole story. Because if we just work on the story level, I'm not here to give you recommendations. I'm here to go back to the root. I always use this example like a dentist. You know, when you have like a cavity and it goes all the way to the root, you have to clean it all the way to the root. Otherwise, it's going to come back and back and back. So this is what I do, going all the way back to the roots, creating new rituals around reparenting, self-love, self-healing. I use different modalities, breath work, parts work, whatever is needed, different somatic meditations.
So let me ask you a
so
question.
That clients,
sorry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just one more last sentence. So that clients feel really empowered. That afterwards they feel empowered to take on different choices because they realize, okay, I'm not that little girl anymore. I'm not that little boy anymore. Even if I stand up for myself and I take a decision that might be painful for my family, painful for my society, it doesn't matter. Because it might sound egoistic, but when it comes to that, I believe the only person you should really listen to is your own self, your soul, your essence.
Constantly, you know, you spoke about very important topics, and I want to touch on a couple of them. Like, you know, there's a huge relationship between borderline disorder diagnostics and abandonment wounds, such as your father's.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So this is a deep wound. And besides the, you know, what you mentioned, this also, as a woman, it will always actually also, you get attracted to men that are not available. So their presence like is justified, you know, daddy had to do it, or, you know, had a reason. Anyway, abandonment. So it keeps manifesting abandonment. And it is a known fact that there's a correlation between, and abandonment can come in different forms. So it can come in lack of, you know, presence, even if they're physically present, like my father, you know, like no role whatsoever, it's just there physically, like no guidance, no, like, you know, silence. And then you've got other forms of abandonment, like rape within the family, or, for example, when a woman gets raped and she goes and tells her parents, and her parents tell her, oh, shut up, don't talk about this, because what will the neighbor think, what the society think? And what will happen is that it will manifest in borderline, I always say not borderline disorder, I always say borderline-like symptoms, right? Which is literally abandonment. And I want to like, and you know, I what's it called? My mother is a narcissist. Like, I'll straight up. I got married to my mother, literally.
Of course.
And until now, until recently, I still attract these characteristics, right? I still, and I'm like, when will I be able to identify them? But this is not really my main question. So this is, your program is amazing for individuals who have gone through things in relationships. They want to they want to attract love into their life. I think everybody wants to attract love in their life.
Yeah.
But you said something. So this is for individuals. Yet I can see that parents can actually, like for me, when I became a parent, the relationship changed, the love changed, the format changed. But then it went haywire, right? So I didn't even get back. Like for me, it's like my divorce started the moment my daughter was born, right? So it's like the relationship transformed. So here we're talking about, this is also a program that can be done for parents and for couples in a new stage. So not always necessarily that they came out of a divorce or a separation. So it could be within the relationship, within a family, to bring love into a family. So can you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, like, first of all, I believe the most important part is that when you mentioned the word abandonment, when we have been abandoned in childhood, we tend to abandon ourselves all our lives. And this is where things get just fucked up. Even when you go into a family, when you have a marriage, when you have children, the mother suddenly has a role, the guy has a role.
Yeah.
And they both just start to operate from roles.
Yeah.
By completely neglecting their own truth, what they want, the desires, the boundaries. I'm a big advocate for healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you state healthy boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly my boundaries, I know your boundaries,
Yeah.
then we can't clash anymore, The
Okay.
thing is, what we do, we overstretch ourselves for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Until we get so pissed that suddenly, kaboom, everything explodes.
Yeah.
And then you have the fucking mess,
Absolutely.
So that's why I always like to work with people, or even when you're listening right now and you're maybe in an early stage of your relationship and you're still happy, amazing. Maybe think about coming already now when we still have much more possibilities to not fix things, but I can give you tools
Mm-hmm.
for communication, for honest and active listening, so that the other person feels really safe to share vulnerably the truth of their hearts. So the earlier you actually come to coaching as a couple, the better it is for the relationship. Because at some point, when things get too tight and too messed up, it can get even difficult, because both parties really have to be in. If there's just one pulling and the other one doesn't really want it, it's quite difficult. So if you have an experience like that you have a partner who's not willing to do the work, start doing the work on yourself. Because sometimes what we do, and I remember I used to do that in the past, oh yeah, my boyfriend, he has to do the work. He has to be more in his masculine. He has to do the work. Yeah. But if you want to have a change in the world, where do you need to go? To yourself. So
look, I would go to you. Okay.
yes.
So you remember when we were preparing this, there was a question, what's love got to do with it? So I wanted to answer this also from Reconnect side. So Reconnect talks about love as healing according to who's named the conscience of psychiatry, Dr. Peter Breggin, who after 50 years in psychiatry came to the conclusion that any mental illness can be healed with love, empathy, and human connection. The absence of love causes depression, right? It's a main contributor to depression, and depression is the fastest rising and growing mental condition. And alarming rises in mental illness such as ADHD in homes void from love and borderline personality disorder by a rising class of human beings that have been raped or violated by the ones who were meant to love them the most, such as their parents or immediate family. So love and empathy and human connection are Reconnect's three values. And at the same time, our recipe for healing from mental illness or thriving in human performance, or even better, in divine unions. So what's love got to do with it? You have 1 minute to tell me what's love got to do with it in your own way.
Love, and especially self-love, is the key ingredient for any human connection. Because you can only connect as deeply with another as deeply as you connect with yourself. And so often we outsource love. but you cannot lose love. If you realize this, you cannot lose love.
Absolutely.
Even if you maybe lost a partner,
Yeah.
even if you, lost your family, lost a child, like it's all horrible. And it's very important that you feel the grief, the pain that comes with it. But then you can decide, you can choose. Are you going to go into resentment and bitterness? Or are you going to start to use this pain as a catalyst for even more love?